We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
A warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. We've got an excellent podcast for you. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Matt Josephs, aka Mid-Major Matt. We're going to take a look at what we've all seen in terms of the disappointing teams in the NL East thus far this season. He does a great job on the prop front, what teams he has not been finding value in terms of some of their K-props. We're going to take a look at what is going to be a great slate here for Tuesday, and then in the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, whatever you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at @GUnit_D1. Keep in mind, letters CM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, we had ourselves a fun day of baseball on Monday. Let's dive into it, try to find some friends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The oh-so-disappointing Red Sox are able to get on the board for a win. 8-6, they take down the Detroit Tigers. Just a massive explosion of offense late in this game as the score was 3-3 going into the bottom of the 7th inning. Red Sox put up a 3 spot from there, and they were able to go 5 of 19 with men in scoring position. Captain Jack Flaherty, 2 unearned runs given up in 3 1/3 innings. Just an absolutely boneheaded throw on his part, by the way. From there, Brian Herter, 2 1/3 innings. He gives up 1 run along the way, and then things went wrong with Tyler Holton, giving up 3 runs in 2/3 of an inning. Derek Anderson from there, 1 1/3 innings. He allows 2 runs, and Sonny Gray was not long for this game as well. 2 2/3 innings. Gives up 1 run, but left this start early. Looks like he's heading for the injured list, so that's not great to say the least for the Red Sox. But from there, the bullpen was able to do their part. Danny Kalum does give up a run in 2/3 of an inning. Zach Kelly, 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Giovanni Morin, he gave up a run without getting a single out of the bullpen. But Greg Weiser, Garrett Wildock, they both give you a scoreless inning. Now Ryan Watson gives up 3 runs in 1 1/3 innings. That's not great, but for Aroldis Chapman, he continues to be Mr. Reliable for this team. Gets the final 2 outs out of the game to be able to record a save. The Astros were able to get a win, 9-2 over the Cleveland Guardians, and for the Astros, some halfway decent pitching here. Spencer Arrighetti, he did not puke up mom's spaghetti, 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. From there, Stephen Okert, AJ Blubaugh, both give you a scoreless inning, 2 scoreless innings. The young gun in Jaden Murray, and Slade Sassoni is off to a rough start to the season. He fills 5 innings, but gives up 7 runs, 6 of which were earned, including a pair of bombs. Christian Walker, 5th home run of the season. Isaac Paredes, welcome back, 1st home run of the season. Then he would get home run numero dos off of Connor Brogdon. For Brogdon, gives up a home run in his inning of work. You did have from there Tim Aaron give you a scoreless inning, and Matt Festa had a fiesta for a pair of innings. He gives up 1 run along the way. The Cincinnati Reds just continue to find a way to win games. 9-2 on the road, 15-8 overall, 6-1. They're able to take down the Tampa Bay Rays. For that Shell Rays, Jesse Schultens. This was not what he was looking for. 5 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings. Gives up a home run to Cousin Sal Stewart, 8th home run of the campaign. Cole Sulzer comes in for a scoreless inning. Trevor Martin in his MLB debut, 2 1/3 innings. He allows 1 run, and Rhett Lauder, well, he made some noise. 1 run allowed over the course of 6 innings. Rock and Roll Burke, Pierce Johnson, Connor Phillips. They were all able to give you a scoreless inning. You had lots of scoreless innings pitched by the Atlanta Braves bullpen, 9-4. They're able to take down the Washington Nationals. Nationals got off to a nice 2-0 lead as Bryce Elder looked a little bit elderly, 4 runs, 3 of which were earned, given up in 6 2/3 innings, including a home run to Dallin Lyle. For Lyle, his 2nd home run of the campaign, but from there, Aaron Bummer did not live up to his name. Out of the bullpen scoreless, Tyler Kinley, Yol Payups, both lined a scoreless inning, and then Jake Irvin, 4 runs, 3 of which were earned, given up in 5 innings. He does give up a home run to Matt Olson, 6th home run of the campaign, and the Nationals bullpen do what they do best. Give up runs. Brad Lord, oh Lord, he gave up 1 run in 2 2/3 innings. Not bad there, but PJ Poulin, 2 runs allowed in a 1/3 of an inning. You had from there 2 runs given up in an inning by Julian Fernandez, and has a ERA of an 18 for the season, so that's not amazing to say the least. But what has been amazing, well, we've been seeing on these 2 teams, the Marlins and the Cardinals. Cardinals, they finally have their, I believe, 6-game win streak snapped. 5-3, the Fish get the job done. Max Meyer, he punches out 8, gives up 2 runs in 5 1/3 innings. He did have Pete Fairbanks give up a run in an inning, but Andrew Nardi, Anthony Bender, they combined for 2 scoreless innings. Calvin Fauché, pair of outs out the bullpen scoreless, and Michael McGreevy gives up 4 runs in 5 2/3 innings, including a home run to Augustin Ramirez, second home run in the campaign. From there, Matt Savanson, 4 outs out the bullpen scoreless. Ryan Fernandez allows a run in an inning, so a little bit too late there, and also being able to get the job done. How about the Chicago Cubs? 5-1, they're able to take down the Philadelphia Phillies. Aaron Nola just continues to be a fraudulent pitcher. 5 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings and gave up a bomb to Dansby Swanson, 5th home run in the campaign. From there, the bullpen was great. Kyle Backus, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Chase Shogert, 2 scoreless innings. Seth Johnson, he was able to lend a scoreless inning as well, but for the Cubs, Colin Ray says hit by parade at 6 2/3 innings scoreless. From there, Hobie Milner, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. You had in the 9th inning, Corbin Martin be able to close it down. So the Chicago Cubs back up to 13-9 to start the season. We may officially have a leader in the clubhouse for worst beat of the year, and if you had the under like I did in the Orioles versus Royals, you'll probably agree. 7-5, the Orioles take down the Royals. I personally had the money line of the Royals and under 9 runs, and this game was 1-0 with the Royals in the lead in the top of the 9th inning with 2 outs. From there, Lucas Erceg gives up a run after Seth Lugo was great. 7 scoreless innings. Matt Strom from there strikes out the side for a scoreless inning. Erceg, he gives up a run in his inning as it's Emil Basayo, who was hitting below 200, hit a RBI single to be able to send this to extras. Kyle Bradish, by the way, he gave up a solo home run. He gave up 10 hits in 5 1/3 innings and was on the hook for 1 run. Jack Caglione, first home run in the campaign as the Royals leave 16 men on base in this game. Rico Garcia, scoreless inning. Grant Wolfram, a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Yunier Cano, Ryan Helsley, they both turned a scoreless inning, and this game was 2-1 going into the bottom of the 11th for the Royals. Bobby Witt Jr. It's an RBI single to send it to the 12th, and then you get the Orioles to put up a 5 spot in the 12th, a 3 spot for the Royals to completely toast the under as you had a 1 run given up in 2 innings of work in extras from Anthony Nunez of the Orioles, and then from there you had a 3 spot, 2 of which were earned, given up by Cameron Foster in the 12th inning, and for the Royals, you did have in extra innings, Daniel Lynch give up 1 run in 1 1/3 innings. That was an unearned run. John Schreiber from there, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless, and Alex Lang completely blowtorched his game. 5 runs, 4 of which were earned, gives up a home run to Leody Taveras, his second home run in the campaign, and that's how you get just an absolutely gut-wrenching and terrible beat for the LA Dodgers. They just beat down the Rockies by a count of 12-3 after they lost a pair of games. Order was restored. Justin Robelski, 1 run allowed over the course of 7 innings. Edgar Enriquez, he gives up a solo home run in his inning of work as TJ Romfield gets his 3rd home run of the campaign, and Jake Elder, he was trying to not look elderly in this game. He gives up a run in his inning of work, and for the Rockies, they saved the bullpen as Jose Quintana was a human pinata in this game. 6 runs, 4 of which were earned in 5 innings. He gives up a pair of home runs, and then Tanner Gordon, in 4 innings, he gives up 6 runs, all of which were earned, and 3 home runs. Going deep, you had Miguel Rojas get his 1st home run of the season. Max Muncy, 7th and 8th home runs of the season. How about Dalton Rushing? His 6th and 7th home runs of the season. He's got 7 home runs right now, and if I'm not mistaken, he's currently up to 27 at-bats thus far this season. So it's been absolutely wild what we've been seeing out of them. So that was a relatively fun one. This was a fun one if you're a fan of the Sacramento A's. They do go out there, get the job done against the Seattle Mariners. This by a count of 6-4 as for the Mariners. They did get up 3-1 very early on in this game, but then the solo home runs just added up. Emerson Hancock, he gives up 3 solo home runs over the course of his 5 innings of work as you did have Shea Langoliers. Shea bangs his 7th home run of the campaign. Nick Kurtz, his 3rd home run of the campaign, and Mr. Cortez was able to get his 2nd. Carlos Cortez from there, not great for the bullpen as Jose Ferrer and Matt Brash both lend a scoreless inning, but Casey Lugumina, 3 runs given up in his inning of work, all coming in the 8th inning. You did have Cooper Criswell give you a scoreless inning, and JT Ginn Juice, he gives up a pair of bombs in his 5 1/3 innings, 3 runs in total. Cal Raleigh, he's on the board with home run number 3 of the campaign, and Dom Gamzone, his 3rd. From there, though, Hogan Ayers, 1 2/3 innings scoreless. Mark Leiter Jr. scoreless inning. Joel Kuhnel was able to turn a scoreless inning of his own, and to wrap up the night, the Blue Jays, they take down the Angels. This by a count of 5-2 for the Jays. Dylan Cease, another solid start here. 12 punch-outs in 5 innings, 2 runs allowed. From there, Braden Fisher was able to give you a scoreless inning. Louis Varland and Tyler Rogers, they combined for 2 scoreless innings of work. Jeff Hoffman, scoreless inning of his own. Reed Detmers, 4 runs allowed in 6 innings, did give up a home run as it was Vlad Guerrero's 2nd of the campaign. Chase Silseth from there, a scoreless inning. Sean Anderson, he gives up 1 run over the course of his 2 innings of work, and if you're looking at trend-wise, what we're getting in baseball right now. Last 7 days, we have been seeing favorites restore a little bit of order as it's been rough for them thus far this season. 53 and 41 on the money line. That's 56.4%. If you look overall for the season, it's 54.7%, 180 and 149 on the money line. And those 180 favorites, 30 have failed to cover the run line. And look at the last 7 days, overs and unders, 50-50, 47 overs, 47 unders. I believe we've had one push along the way as well. Overall for the season, though, it's been an overwhelming season. 175 overs, 153 unders, 53.4% hit rate to the over. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we're all getting trend-wise. Coming in next, how about if we chatted up with our good friend Matt Joseph, aka Major Matt, right here on the Baseball Betting Show. Myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beast and Family podcast.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Beast and Family podcast. Always a pleasure to be joined by this man, as we've got Matt Joseph aboard, aka Mid-Major Matt. He's doing such tremendous work over at ESPN Radio in Richmond. He does the show Border to Border out there. Additionally, I know that he is doing an incredible job over at Ariel Epstein's Prop Queen website and Prop Queen app. Take a look at all that we're getting right now in this great game of baseball. Additionally, does a great job on the college sports front, whether that be college football, college basketball, you name it, he does it. You're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at Mid-Major Matt altogether. And Matt, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me, Matt. And Matt, now we are through, I would say, about 3.5, almost 4 weeks through the season. And just what have you made out of things thus far? Because I do think that it's been a really interesting start to the season, and we certainly have had some disappointments to the positive and the negative.
Yeah, I think we've learned that the NL Central race is going to be a lot of fun with all 5 teams above 500 and all 5 teams looking good, at least early on. I don't expect them all to stay that way, but at least we know that the NL Central could be a really fun race. And we think that maybe the NL East race could be over early, because this is an Atlanta Braves team that's not even close to 100% right now in terms of their pitching rotation, and they've been fantastic so far.
Oh, I am right there with you on how fantastic the Atlanta Braves have been. And how do you take a look at the disappointments in that division? Because the Mets entered into Monday tied for dead last in the big leagues in terms of overall record. And the Philadelphia Phillies, I know that you've got some Phillies fandom in you, hasn't been quite what they were hoping for as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Phillies are hot and cold, and there's going to be stretches when we do this show, and I'm talking about how good they are because everybody's hitting and the pitching's better. Right now, the pitching's just not very good. Jesus Luzardo struggling with runners on base. You're going to get Zach Wheeler back, but he's got diminished velocity right now, so he's going to have to be a smarter pitcher instead of a guy who relies on his velocity to get people out. You've got Taijuan Walker, who can't get anybody out, and you've got a bullpen that's been all over the place, and now the closer is on the IL for the Phillies. So, look, I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs this year. I put a wager on it. Partially that was emotionally hedging, but partially I thought, look, it's an older team that didn't really do anything. They kind of brought back everybody thinking, all right, this is going to be fine. I'd like to think that maybe firing the manager will help. I don't know if that's going to help the Mets, but also, if you look at what's going on with the Mets, their offseason additions, Bo Bichette's hitting 217, Robert's hitting 257, the rookie is hitting 143, Polanco's hitting 179, and Soto's injured. So, the Mets are kind of getting all these offseason acquisitions that look good on paper, but so far they haven't been very good.
And that leads me to this as well. Out of those two struggling teams, maybe it's neither, but that said, which of them do you think has a better chance of being able to bounce back?
I think it's the Mets, potentially. I mean, the Phillies have the better pitching, but I don't trust it all season long. I mean, outside of Christopher Sanchez, I think Luzardo will be better than he usually is. I think Andrew Painter will be good. Obviously, as teams get more and more film on him, can he adjust to what the people are seeing from him early on? But, I think the Mets have more hitters that they can trust. Now, the question is, will they be be able to play to their baseball cards. I don't love Freddie Peralta as an ace. I think McLean is probably the ace there. And, Senga has not been very good in terms of his ERA, and he's been injured on and off. So, I don't think either of them are trustable teams, but I think maybe the Phillies can bounce back out of it because they've done so in the past and because they've been more reliable lately, at least in the regular season, than the Mets have.
Yep, I do agree with you there. As we do have Matt Josephs, aka Mid-Major Matt. He is joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And how about if we do take a look at some of those games that we've got for Tuesday, because the Mets, they do find themselves as a good-sized favorite against the Minnesota Twins, with being Simeon Woods-Richardson and Noah McLean. And McLean's like a minus 175 favorite, total of 7.5. How do you take a look at this game? Because the one guy that I feel like has actually been pretty solid for the Mets has been McLean. Even in this losing streak that they've had, he's been able to pitch relatively well, but I look at the rest of the team and it's not very trustworthy.
Yeah, that's for sure. This is a huge price. I don't know if I can lay this kind of price, even with a guy like McLean on the mound. I'm not a fan of Woods Richardson per se, but, Minnesota's lineup has been very hot and cold so far this season themselves. They had a stretch last week or a week and a half ago where they were destroying some pretty good pitchers. Garrett Crochet gave up 11 runs in his start against them back on April 13th. So this is a lineup that I don't think will necessarily be scared. And this is a lineup that's making a lot of contact. They are on quite the stretch of unders here this season. They've only gone over their K-prop 5 times total, 1 time against a right-handed starting pitcher. So I'll be interested to see what the number is for McLean. Just because he's a really good starting pitcher doesn't mean he's going to get a lot of strikeouts against this lineup. Only Jack Flaherty with 6 and Joe Boyle with 9 have been able to get more than 5 against these guys.
Yeah, that's such a good point that you're making. And how do you take a look at this Minnesota Twins team moving forward? Because we've talked a lot about the Mets, but it feels like the Twins have come out of nowhere because there was zero expectations for them whatsoever. Did get swept in that weekend series against the Reds, but I think that on the positive, they've been one of those teams that has been a little bit better than expected thus far.
Yeah, I think it's the rotation. You look so far. Abel getting injured is not great. We'll see who they can replace him with. And Bailey Ober didn't start out well, but his last couple starts, he's been better. But when you have a guy like Joe Ryan at the top and Taj Bradley, who's pitching like he was with the Tampa Bay Rays, I think you go far in baseball if you have a rotation that can certainly help you out. Now, I do find it interesting. 5 different guys have saves. Can that continue to hold up? Can you be a team that basically goes situationally in the 8th and 9th inning? I think certainly it can work for some. But will you be able to continue to succeed? By the way, they're also hitting 230 as a team. I don't know how sustainable that is. I think they're going to improve there, but certainly I don't know how many wins you can get when you're not hitting as a team. But if your pitching's not allowing a lot of runs, you can win a lot of 3-2 games.
Yep, you certainly can, and I do think that that's going to be fun to be taking a look at moving forward, as we do have Matt Josephs, aka Mid-Major Matt, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And I know that you've come on quite a bit and talked about the Royals and the fact that they do make contact, don't necessarily strike out a ton, but as we know, they've had a really rough start to the season as well. How are you taking a look at this team right now and have been playing their props?
Well, I think this is a team that I'm looking at the under for the earned runs allowed potentially. Only 3 starting pitchers so far have allowed 3 runs or more to the Royals so far this season. This is a team that has, actually, it's funny, while they've made contact lately, they have not been. They have gone over in 5 straight K-props. It happens when you see the Yankees electric righties and Ryan Weathers, and then you see a guy like Jack Flaherty and Montero. So you see a bunch of really good pitchers, but this is a team right now that is just not hitting. And so if the books give me a 2.5 on the under for the earned runs. Now, I don't think they will as much now because Kansas City's not hitting, but this is a team you could look at team total unders, first 5 team total unders, until they start figuring things out a little bit hitting wise. This is a team that you want to fade offensively.
Yeah, it certainly has been, and it's been really rough for them thus far this season. And with the Royals, they are relatively decent-sized favorites here against the Baltimore Orioles, minus 125 to minus 135 with old Chris with the K. Bubich against Shane Baz. How do you look at this one? Because with Baz, he's always been a relatively solid strikeout pitcher, but just feels like he hasn't necessarily been able to put it together at the big league level. And for old Chris with the K. Bubich, he's been one of the lone bright spots as well for the Royals because I've liked what I've seen out of him.
Yeah, I really like him. I'm a fan of him from the left side. And it's interesting because the Orioles, they've played a bunch of games so far, but their first left-handed starting pitcher came on the 15th. They had gone a whole bunch of games the start of the season without seeing a left-handed starting pitcher. So that's kind of made the numbers a little bit interesting, to say the least. They struggle with Messick of Cleveland. He had the no-hitter going into, I believe, the 9th inning in that game. And of course, they just faced Joey Cantillo, and he had 6 strikeouts in 4 2/3 innings. So you want to kind of go off the numbers here, but there's only 3 starting starting pitchers from the left side that have gone against the Orioles. So I'll be interested to see what the K-prop number is on Bubic. He is a guy that definitely gets a lot of strikeouts for Kansas City. If that thing is low enough, I'll probably look at the K-prop over there. And then, as you said, I mean, Boz is a pretty good pitcher. The fun thing is to always try and look at the weather as well for a lot of these games. We are still in a cold part of time. On the East Coast, it's been a little bit colder after a really hot weekend and things like that. So, Kansas City is one of those places you always want to make sure to check the weather because, it's a place that at times could have some wind or some cold involved, and that certainly changes the handicap.
Yep, it certainly does. And with Chris Bubic, I think that he's going to be able to keep it going. And Orioles are another one of those teams just dealing with so many injuries in the lineup. And Pete Alonso has not necessarily been what they've been hoping for as well. And I know that I let off talking about some of the disappointments in the NL East, but have there been a few teams thus far that have been a pleasant surprise for you? And maybe you didn't have high expectations for them coming into the season, but you've been able to find a little bit of value on them recently.
Well, I mean, obviously, Colorado at 9 wins. I don't know when they got their 9th win last year, but like if you took a look at some of the Rockies games, I mean, look, just won 2 straight against the Dodgers. That's going to give you an opportunity to get some huge prices on the Colorado Rockies. So, I mean, any sort of discussion of surprises on the positive side of things would certainly be Colorado and what they're doing so far. Other than that, I mean, I feel like Tampa Bay, a little bit of a surprise, but I think that it's, starting to come back home and being able to pitch in the Trop is certainly going to help them, and it's certainly going to help keep the scores down, unlike, playing in a minor league ballpark. So I think with that rotation, once McClanahan starts getting better and gets further away from the injury and getting more and more innings under his belt, I think he's going to be better. I think the Rays can be a factor in that division. They don't have the flashy payroll of the Yankees or the Blue Jays or the Red Sox or the Orioles even, but I think the Rays have the right additions and acquisitions that they feel like fit their team and fit their style the best.
Yep, and I'm so glad that you mentioned the Tampa Bay Rays because I'm very bullish on them. I like that offense, and right now, if you look at that game for Tuesday against the Reds, it's a relative pick'em game with it being Chase Burns going up against Steven Matz and a total of 7.5. How do you look at this one? Because with the Reds, they've gotten off to a nice start to the season as well, but they're like 5 or 6 games above 500 with a negative run differential, and that tells me that they're probably doing for a little bit of regression.
Yeah, and Steven Matz has been very good for the Rays. It's almost like one of those acquisitions. We always see those guys that go to the Rays, and then all of a sudden they figure it out, and he's 3-0. Now, granted, his ERA is near 4, so he's giving up some runs, but of course that was in one start against the Cardinals. But like he's another one of these guys that has gone to Tampa Bay and kind of enjoyed things a little bit with them. And granted, he's only played 1 game at home so far. He's only started in 1 game at home so far. And he's going up against a Reds team that he have seen 4 left-handed starters. All of them have had 6 or more. Now, granted, all of them are really nasty. Robbie Ray, Gore, Connolly Early, and Garrett Crochet. So the K numbers are expected there. Matt's may not be as good, but you can also take a look at Matt's in terms of last year. Because remember, his time in that division, he might have seen some of these Cincinnati guys before. So like you have some numbers last year. I'm looking right here. On April 30th last year, he pitched 4 innings in Cincinnati and had 6 strikeouts, not allowing a single earned run. So he's got some familiarity with some of these guys in this lineup.
Yep, absolutely. And I do think that when it comes to Steven Matz, he's a guy that can be trusted moving forward. He's that guy that doesn't walk a lot of guys, so he's able to go deep into innings as well. So if you're looking at some of those innings props, I think that he might be a good value there, especially with how bad that Tampa Bay Rays bullpen is. And how much do you take a look at some of those starting pitchers that are in front of bad bullpens? Like if we can find anyone trustworthy for the Nationals, and I'm sort of thinking that Foster Griffin might be that they could lend a lot of value to the over in terms of their outs props just because the team probably doesn't want to go to the bullpen.
Yeah, we are certainly seeing not so much early on. There are always veterans who certain teams like to let go a little bit longer, even when they're not pitching well. Patrick Corbin was like that for the longest time. Jordan Lyles was one of those guys that you knew there were some rough innings coming, but they were like, you're giving us 5 no matter what. I don't care if you give up 18 runs, you're going 5 at least. Forrest Griffin's been pretty consistent so far. 5 innings twice, 5 in the 3rd innings 2 other times. It's like, they kind of know when he's going to drop off a little bit. And so the books have been hanging some 14.5, some 15.5 for him. Obviously going against Atlanta, that's always a tough proposition. Now, it all depends on how Jake Irvin does in game 1. But usually when you see guys get beaten up in that first game, you're going to see try to, get some innings out of the second guy. And the Braves have seen some lefties. And look, Messick went 6 2/3 against the Braves. Sanchez went 6 innings against the Braves. Eduardo Rodriguez went 7 innings against the Braves. So, if the number's a reasonable number, I might look at Foster Griffin's innings over in this situation.
Yep, absolutely. I've been liking what I've been seeing out of him. And Well, the Washington Nationals bullpen is still the Washington Nationals bullpen. And is there anything else that you might be taking a look at for this Tuesday? As we've got all 30 teams in action, few question marks, including the Astros throwing Ryan Wise as their starter, so that's going to be interesting. But anything else that's really standing out to you?
I mean, obviously, I don't love betting a lot of back-to-backs when it comes to teams facing the same squad over and over again, but Phillies against lefties, I mean, Imanaga was so good against them in the first start. I got a 2.5 under on his earned runs in that game, and he gave up the home run, I believe, to Trey Turner as the leadoff home run, and then he shut him down. But I just don't love, the Phillies just saw him, and so you would think the Phillies would do a little bit better. Plus, of course, we always have to see what the wind is doing and how cold it is in Chicago, so that kind of complicates things. But usually I'm fading the Phillies against left-handers because they've just been brutal against them so far. And of course, the Patrick Corbin-Kochanowicz matchup is an interesting one. Corbin's a guy that he's going to go out there and he's going to give it his all. And so far in 2 starts, he had 1 bad one against the Twins. He had 1 pretty good one against the Milwaukee Brewers on the road when he went 5 2/3, had 6 strikeouts and 1 walk in that game. And Kochanowicz was really good against the Yankees last time out. He's a guy that doesn't get a lot of strikeouts, had 6 2/3 against the Yankees. I had the over on his outs in that one. So I don't expect him to pitch that well again against Toronto's lineup. Toronto's lineup has been all over the place. Of course, they were all over Ryan Nelson in that last game on Sunday. Can they do the same to Kochanowicz? So I'll be interested to see, was that a 1-start wonder for him, or is he going to pitch well again against another tough lineup, although this time it'll be at home?
Yep, absolutely. It's going to be a fun slate on Tuesday, and we've had ourselves a lot of intrigue here in the early part of the season, and I know that you, Matt, are doing a great job of gauging it all. Let the good people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, Mid-Major Matt on Twitter. I post all my plays, post them all in the Action Network app, so that way everybody can see what I'm doing. I'm a guy who likes to look at a lot of different markets that are not used a lot. First threes, first fives, first sevens, all the pitching markets, because in my mind, there are so many markets in every baseball day that it's hard for the books to get every single one right. You just got to take the time to find the value in all this stuff, and that's kind of what I do. Certainly tweet me at Mid-Major Matt, and you can ask me any questions or have anything about why I'm taking something or why I'm not taking something, because we all want to beat the books. We all want to make a lot of money.
Yes, we certainly do. And Matt, he does such a great job of finding edges in so many different markets. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights and did so once again today. So big thanks to Matt for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming next, it is that time of the podcast, taking picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by our good friend Matt Josephs, aka Mid-Major Matt. He does such great work over there in the city of Richmond, over at the ESPN affiliate over there, the Prop Queen website, Prop Queen app, and so much more every single time he joins me on such great insights, and did so once again today. So big thanks to Matt for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at gunit_81. We are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games. Any intra-league games, those are going to be at the bottom. That will keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So let's get things started with 901, 902 on the card. The St. Louis Cardinals on the road against the Miami Marlins as Chris Paddock goes for the fish, and Dustin May hopes that it's May Day for Miami. Right now, Miami, a slim favorite here. You're going to be finding them anywhere between minus 112 to a minus 120, anywhere between plus 103, plus 104 to minus 105 is the number on St. Louis. 8.5 is the total. Over and under, anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. Anything of a plus 102 or higher, I'm looking at the Cardinals. So as long as they remain the underdog, I am going to be siding with the St. Louis Cardinals. I had the Miami Marlins at a very slim minus 102 for both of these starting pitchers. I think that there's very, very fair question marks with them. Dustin May last year posted up an ERA north of a 4.75 and just in general wasn't effective. Now, last few starts have looked a little bit better here for the Cardinals, but still is posting up a 6.98 ERA for this season. He's only given up 0.9 home runs per 9 innings opposed to 1.4 last season, but 7 strikeouts per 9. The zip just has not been been there. If you look at the advanced numbers, doing for some positivity, but do have a lot of question marks there. And then for Chris Paddock, man, things have just went straight down the toilet bowl for him. There are a few seasons where it felt like he got a little bit unlucky. Now he just stinks. 5.59 ERA, 4.89 fielding dependent to begin this year. 1.9 home runs, 2.3 walks per 9 innings. Much to the liking of last year, where he had a 5.35 ERA. 1.8 home runs, 2.1 walks per 9 innings. So I don't think that this is just something that's going to be going away. And for the Cardinals, this has been a lineup that's been rock solid thus far. Jordan Walker, 8 home runs. He's been hitting darn near 300 going into the series. The Cardinals averaging 5.9 runs per game away from home. That is a top 4 mark out there in all of baseball. Alec Burleson has been able to give you over a 360 on base. And Ron Herrera doesn't necessarily hit for a lot of average, but he finds a way to move the line. Victor Scott, not a power guy, but again, another guy that is finding a way on. And then on the flip side for the Miami Marlins, they do a great job in terms of just making contact. They're not necessarily too much of a power hitting team, though I will say you've got Kyle Sowers now back in the fold. That helps them out, but Xavier Edwards, Otto Lopez, both hitting well above 300. Edwards, he's a guy that hit for a cycle against the Brewers like 2 years ago. You got Jacob Marcy, who's been struggling along with Graham Pauly, but Owen Casey, even though he's been a little bit colder here recently, he's been an RBI man. Liam Hicks, 3+ home runs, he's hitting above 300. For the Cardinals, they have a few pieces I like in the bullpen. Jojo Romero, sub 350 ERA last season. Riley O'Brien is solid, but Matt Savanson, Ryan Stanek, George Soriano, no trusting in those guys. And for the Miami Marlins, Lake Bakar is able to give you multiple innings. I do think that Pete Fairbanks, after a shaky start to the season, finds that John King, the former Cardinal, had a sub 350 ERA last year. Calvin Fauché, Anthony Bender, Andrew Nardi, these guys are solid. So I did set the Marlins here at a minus 102, so pretty much any sort of plus money. Going to be willing to take a shot on the Cardinals on the money line, and on the total of 8.5, like the over, some I told at 8.7. 903, 904 on the card. The Braves are on the road against the Nationals. Foster Griffin goes for the Nationals. Reynaldo Lopez is on the bump for the Atlanta Braves, and the Braves do find themselves between minus 136 and minus 149 favorites, plus 116 to plus 123. That number on Washington, 8.5 is the total. Over is between minus 110 to a minus 115. Under is minus 105 to a minus 110. And for the Braves, I set their money line price at a minus 179. If you're looking to lay run half with them, that's anywhere between plus 115, plus 120. I personally am going to be looking at them in some form of capacity. I think I'm going to lean a little bit more towards the money line since it's still reasonable, because I actually like what I've seen out of Foster Griffin thus far this season. He pitched for a few seasons overseas. He has come back, and he's been by far the best arm here for the Nationals. 305 ERA. I have to wonder if there's going to be a bit of regression with that 434 fielding dependent. 1.3 home runs, 3 walks per 9 innings. Gets about 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. And then on the flip side, I have to wonder if Reynaldo Lopez is doing for a little bit of regression as well. Made just 1 start last season. He's come back. He's posted up a 2.18 ERA in 4 starts, but also a 4.48 fielding dependent, 3.5 walks, 1.3 home runs allowed per 9 innings. And the Nationals are clubbing the ball right now. 5.5 runs per game entering into this series. That is number 3 in all baseball. I don't know if that's going to be a mainstay, but CJ Abrams, James Wood, these guys had solid years last year, with Wood hitting for 30+ home runs last season, and they have built off of it all the further this season. You've got some of the ancillary guys like Brady House, Dallin Lyle, who have been able to do a good job in terms of finding a way to be able to reach base as well. Keeper Ruiz has just never been able to put it together, but still, you've got guys that are coming from out of nowhere that have been able to find a way on base. Nasim Nunez has been a little bit of a disappointment, but all in all, like what I'm seeing on this lineup. And for the Braves, they are back to where they were a few seasons ago. They're averaging like 5.6 runs per game. Drake Baldwin, he's been able to supply 5+ home runs, over 350 on base. Ronald Acuna Jr. isn't even off to a great start this season, and he's been got stealing 3 times this far, but Jorge Mateo all of a sudden sitting at 350. You've been able to have Don Smith hit like a 350. You're getting power out of Mauricio Dubon and Austin Riley after a slow start to the season. He's picking it up, and for the Braves, entered in the series top 5 in terms of bullpen ERA. Tyler Kinley, since coming over from the Rockies, a sub 250 ERA. Dylan Lee, Aaron Bummer, they're putting it together. Raciel Iglesias looks like the closer that we all know and love, and last year the Nationals were dead single last in terms of bullpen ERA. They're still supplying a 5.30 bullpen ERA. Cole Henry's now on the injured list. They've got Dickie Lovelady, that's not great. Ciano Perez, Clayton Beater had north of 4 ERAs last season, so do think that the Braves do a nice job generating some offense. Like the over, somebody told at 80.8, and with the Braves right around minus 135, minus 140, taking a shot on the money line. 905, 906 on the card. It's the Phillies on the road against the Cubs. Shota Imanaga goes for the Cubs. Jesus Luzardo is on the bump for the Phils, and the Phillies do find themselves as between even money to plus 105 underdogs, minus 118 to minus 125. That number on the Cubs, 8.5 is the total. Under is minus 115. The over is minus 105. I set a total here of a 10.1. I like the over. Like, you've got the wind that is going to be very much blowing blowing out on this day. I don't think that they have acquainted for that enough. It's going to be a little bit more directional towards back half of the game, but it's still going to be blowing out. You've got more favorable temperatures than you had a few weeks ago, so I do think that this is going to be a high-scoring game, especially with the fact that Shota Imanaga, I recognize that he had that 11 strikeout game a start or two ago. He is a guy that last year was pitching to a lot of contact, and he is lucky that that ERA was not a whole heck of a lot higher than what it was, as last season in 2025, 3.73 ERA, but a 4.86 fielding independent, 1.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings, and Jesus Luzardo is fielding independent is a 2.86. He's been getting 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, not really allowing the deep ball, but holy crud, 7.94 ERA. He has been just getting mollywopped ever since June of 2025, and now with the wind blowing out, that's not great to say the least. Now, for the Phillies, what else is not great is the fact that they entered in this series dead stinking last in the National League in terms of runs per game away from home with about 3.3 runs per game. You have to think that there's going to be a little bit of positivity here, like Bryce Harper's been able to pick it up. He's back to being able to give you about a 275 average, 4 home runs, 360 on base. Kyle Schwarber doesn't hit for a great average, but 376 on base, 7 home runs. It's a little bit of an all-or-nothing lineup, though, because Trey Turner's only getting about a 255. You need a bit more there. Alec Bohm, Adolis Garcia, both hitting below a 210 is an issue, and you just have not gotten a lot out of some of the ancillary guys. Like, you're looking at Bryson Stott hitting at 207. That's a bit of an issue, and now for the bullpen, not having Yohan Duran out there, that's an issue. Tanner Banks had a sub-350 ERA last season. They get a Ryan Kirkering off the injury list, but Jose Alvarado, since the drug suspension last year, has not been the same guy. Brad Keller had a nice year last year, ironically enough, with the Cubs. I think that was a little bit of flash in the pan, and for the Cubs, like 2/3 of their bullpen is right now injured. They were looking at Caleb Theobar at 39 years old, trying to duplicate that career year last year. I like Jacob Webb in the bullpen, but Hobie Milner is a little bit washed, but do think that the offense is going to be able to find it as well. The entire catcher spot, Moises Ballesteros, Miguel Amaya, Carson Kelly, maybe not supreme power, but all of these guys are giving you like north of a 375 on base. Nico Horner hitting at 325. Ian Happ has been able to give you 6 home runs. Beaker Armstrong has been terrible to begin the season. Alex Bregman just perennially a little bit of a slow starter. Dansby Swanson not hitting for average but 4 home runs. Do think that the Cubs do find a way to get the job done here. I'm willing to lay up to a minus 137 on that money line, and I like the over. Set my total 10.1. 907, 908 on the card. It's the Padres. They are going to be on the road against the Rockies, as you've got Mr. Randy Vasquez on the bump for the San Diego Padres, and it's all to be determined on the bump for the Colorado Rockies, so this is a game that is off the board. Now, Chase Dollander, it looks like is going to be going in some form or capacity. They're most likely going to utilize an opener for him, and assuming that set the Padres at a minus 167, I'm willing to go up to a minus 166 on the money line, or up to a minus 115 on the run line, plus 168 or better. Looking at the Rockies, and made a total of 10.6, 10.5 or less, like the over, 11 or higher to the under. Randy Vasquez has looked like a different pitcher thus far this season for the San Diego Padres. Last year, he was super lucky, 5.3 strikeouts, 3.8 walks per 9 innings. He has cranked it up to 10.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's lowered the walks to 3.3 walks per 9 innings, 249 ERA, 267 fielding dependent. If he continues to swing and miss stuff, this is actually sustainable, and for Chase Dollander, he has looked much better thus far this season. Now, you go back to what he did last year, he had an ERA that was more than 3 points better away from home rather than at home, so you still have to have a little bit of trepidation there, but I mean, still, he has pitched 19 innings thus far this season. They've mostly had openers in front of him, and he's providing 10.9 strikeouts to 2.8 walks per 9 innings. Now, he does have the fielding independent of a 387 because he is giving up 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, but 332 ERA, and it's a Rockies bullpen that I'm not here to say that it's amazing or anything like that, but Antonio Senzatella has actually been really good out of the bullpen. Juan Mejia, Victor Vonnegut, Jimmy Harrigan, these were guys that were able to fly a sub-325 ERA last season, so the Rockies have gotten to respectability. They're actually in the top 10 in terms of bullpen ERA. The San Diego Padres last year were number 1 in terms of bullpen ERA, and Mason Miller has been just absolutely unhittable thus far this season. Jeremiah Estrada, though, being on the injury list is an issue. They do get back Jason Adam. That is going to be able to help them out quite a bit here moving forward, and they have to face off against a Rockies team that has been quite solid in terms of run production at Hunter Goodman and Mickey Moniak, 5 home runs apiece. Moniak did get the day off yesterday, but still should be good to go in this game. Troy Johnson, as a young guy, he's been able to hit above a 300 for this team. Jordan Beck has been miserable thus far, but Tristan Freeman is right now moving the line. Kyle Karros, he got his first home run of the season. Young guy who struggled a little bit, but I do think think that he's going to be able to get things online a little bit more as well. And then on the flip side for the San Diego Padres, has been a lineup that has been a little bit struggling thus far this season. They enter into the series with right around about 3.7 runs per game away from home, but you have to have a feeling that Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., pair of guys with 2 home runs or fewer, that these guys are going to be able to find it a little bit more. You've had Jackson Merrill do a solid job of reaching base along Xander Bogaerts. Both of these guys hitting above 250. Both of these guys give you relatively functional power. You've been able to get a little bit more out of Luis Campusano at the catcher spot as well. Ramon Laureano, 4 bombs. He's been able to give you about a 275 average or so. So I think these guys are relatively solid, and I do think that Nick Castellanos finds his sea legs a little bit as well. So 10.5 or less, like the over, 11 higher the under for the Padres. One to minus 115 on the run line or minus 166 on the money line. Rockies plus 168 or better. Looking at that money line. 909, 910 on the card. It is the Dodgers, and they're going to be on the road against the Giants. We know that it's going to be Landon Roop for the Giants. Right now, it's to be determined for the Dodgers. Some places do have a number up on this game with the Dodgers, minus 175 to minus 190 favorites, plus 150 to plus 155 on the Giants with a total of 7.5. All things are pointing towards Yoshinobu Yamamoto making the start for the Dodgers, and I did set with Yamamoto on the mound. The money line at a minus 183. I'd be willing to go up to a minus 112 with the run line, and right now I'm seeing a lot of run line prices right around even money to plus 102, and I would be willing to take that like even money or so run line, especially plus money if you do indeed get Yamamoto. He actually had a lower ERA when he was away from home rather than at home last season. Guy has just been absolutely tremendous here for the Dodgers. Last season was supplying an ERA of a 2.49 with a 2.94 fielding dependent, 0.7 home runs, 10.4 strikeouts per 9. Strikeout numbers have been down to about 7.4 strikeouts per 9 to start the season, but he has in 25 and 2/3 innings given out just 3 walks. He's given out just 1 home run per 9 innings, and the Giants have not been able to get online with their bats as Rafael Devers just continues to be a big giant waste of money for the team. The outfield has gotten a little bit better. Eloy Ramos was able to get online in their previous series against the Washington Nationals, and you actually have William Adames doing okay. I recognize that the 295 on base percentage isn't amazing, but 3 home runs, unlike everyone else on the team, he's at the very least giving you something. And Luis Rice is hitting a 300 along Casey Schmidt, but man, Patrick Bailey, the currently banged up Harrison Bader, you got Jared Oliveira, so many guys are right now hitting below a 225 for his team. Matt Chapman has actually moved the line, but no power whatsoever. And the Giants last year were number 4 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, but trading away Camilo Duvall and a few others at the trade deadline have really hurt this team. And last year you had Eric Miller supplying a sub-2 ERA. That's above a 5 this far this season. Ryan Walker had a 4 ERA last year. He's back to 4 thus far this season. I've liked Matt Gage out of the bullpen. Caleb Killian has been a relatively solid piece as well, but they've taken some steps back. And for the Dodgers, they are going to be without Edwin Diaz for the next few months, but still have Jack Dreher, Alex Vesey, a pair of guys that had a sub-325 ERA last season. Blake Tryon, after a terrible season last year, he looks to be getting online. Edgardo Enriquez looks like he's got a little bit of upside to him as well, and Tanner Scott looks like he's getting back to that good form that he had a few seasons ago with the Dodgers. They entered into Monday, and this is a little bit of a key. They are going from elevation, so that affects you a little bit in the next game, but that said, averaging over 7.5 runs per game away from him. Shohei Ohtani, Andy Paz, 5 home runs apiece, both give you over 390 on base. You've had 6 bombs out of Max Muncy with about a 340 on base. Oscar Hernandez has been a little bit banged up, but Kyle Tucker, he's starting to find it here with the LA Dodgers. Like, the list goes on and on. Mookie Betts, I recognize that he's injured, but he hasn't been great since the, shall we say, beginning part of the 2025 season. So with the Dodgers at a 7.5, I do like the over, so I told 7.6, and even money, I'm willing to lay that run line. 9-11, 9-12 on the card. It's the Astros on the road against the Guardians, as you've got Parker Messick, who's going to be on the bump for the Guardians, and Ryan Wise hopes to be wise for the Astros, and the Astros are an underdog here of anywhere between plus 110 to a plus 115, minus 130, minus 135 is that number on Cleveland. 8 is the total. Over is minus 115, the under is minus 105, and I made a total of an 8.6. I'm going to be in on the over. This looks like an all hands on deck game for the Astros, as Ryan Wise is making his second career start, and it's not been great throughout his MLB career. I recognize that it's short. 6 appearances, 14 and 2/3 innings. 6.75 ERA with 2.5 home runs and 6.1 walks per 9 innings. Yeah, that's not good to say the least. And he's backed up by a bullpen that entered into yesterday 29th in the big leagues with a 5.88 ERA. Like, Brian King has been relatively okay in the bullpen, but AJ Bluebaugh has been absolutely awful as a long guy. After Brian Abreu last year was solid, he has been anything but solid thus far this season. They're getting no length out of their starting starters whatsoever. It's a mess, but hey, for the Astros, they continue to be able to generate offense. This offense of the Astros entered into Monday top 5 in the big leagues in terms of run creation. Yordan Alvarez, 10 home runs, over a 450 on base. Jose Altuve continues to give you over 375 on base. Christian Walker is giving you 5 home runs. They're getting back Isaac Paredes after he was a little bit in and out of the lineup to begin the season. Bottom of the lineup, a few of the, shall we say, ancillary outfielders, a little bit hit or miss, but all in all, the lineup has been fine. And for the Guardians, they back in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation. You've had Johnny Brito along with Bo Naylor hit below the Mendoza 200. Rhys Hoskins looking a little bit washed right now, and Kyle Manzardo just not giving you the power that you need. But Jose Ramirez, he had multiple home runs on Sunday. He's getting online. Needs Stephen Kwan, Chase Salata are both hitting about a 225 to pick it up a little bit, but I think that the Astros are a good way to be able to do so. And for Parker Messick, this guy's been absolutely amazing. Since getting called up to the big league level, he has made 10 regular season starts. He is posting up a 2.07 ERA, 0.7 home runs per 9 innings, 1.8 walks per 9, might be actually 11 career starts, but still, I mean, he's been able to do a nice job holding it down. The bullpen has been a little bit more shaky this year. Eric Zabrowski has been very rock solid. I still am not necessarily the biggest Tim Herron stan, and Kobe Allard is a long guy. He has had some failures, Sean Armstrong as well, but now they're getting Hunter Gaddis off the injured list. Kate Smith needs to figure it out, so this is my total at 8.6. Like the over with the Guardians, made them a money line favorite of a minus 158. I'm going to take that money line. 913, 914 on the card. The Red Sox play host to the Yankees. Luis Eel is on the bump for the Yankees, and Connolly Early goes for the Red Sox. Red Sox are in a relatively pick'em game here. They're a slight underdog, even money to minus 105. Between minus 110 to a minus 120 is that number on the Yankees. 8.5 is the total. Over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. I do like the over. I set my total at an 8.8. Now for Connolly Early, it's been a really small sample size at the big league level. I think that he made that one postseason start. So if you look at regular season only, just 8 career appearances, but 231 ERA, 0.2 home runs, 11.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. He has been superb. And for Luis Eel, he was as lucky as all heck last season. 332 ERA in his 11 starts with a 463 fielding dependent, 6.5 strikeouts, 5.2 walks per 9 innings. And the regression monster is hungry, and it's coming for Luis Eel. 7 runs, 5 walks allowed in his 9 innings across 2 starts as far this season. I mean, man, I think that's going to be a little bit rough for him. And for the Yankees, they do trade away Luke Weaver in that bullpen. They got rid of Devin Williams, which was just not working out in general for them. But I do like the fact that you've got a guy like a Tim Hill is able to give you sub 350 ERA. Francisco Cruz has been able to do a pretty solid job in this bullpen as well. You've got some nice ancillary pieces, David Benar along Camilo Udval. So I think that they're going to do an okay job there. But for the Red Sox last year, they were 6th in the big leagues in terms of run creation. Really struggled going into Monday. Perhaps Patriots Day was able to wake them up a little bit, as Weiler Abreu continues to be great. He's giving you about a 350 on base with 3 home runs. Wilson Contreras, 4 bombs, 400 on base. It's more of these guys that are in the infield, like you've had Marcelo Meyer, Caleb Durbin, Trevor Story, only below the Mendoza 200 without a lot of power. And now you've got Roman Anthony back up to about a 360 on base. Red Sox last season were 2nd in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, more around about 12th or 13th right now. But you've got Greg Weiser, Garrett Whitlock, who had the sub 325 ERA last season. They pick up Danny Kalum. I really like that. Pick up Aroldis Chapman, has been the best closer in all of baseball in a Red Sox uniform. So I do like the Red Sox here at a minus 110, even money, so I set them at a minus 135. Even though I do think that the Yankees going to be able to generate a little bit of offense of their own. I feel like that series against the Royals was able to wake them up. Aaron Judge is not giving you the same on base that he has in the past. He's hovering right around about like 330, 340 on base, but he has been able to wallop the ball for 9 home runs. Ben Rice has been off to a really nice start to the season. He's got 8 home runs, 476 on base, but the infielders, you've had Jazz Chisholm, Ryan McMahon, guys like this that are hitting below the Mendoza 200. Jose Cabrera, 233 average, but 1 home run and a 282 on base. Giancarlo Stanton went into a little bit of a funk as well, so I do like the Red Sox here on the money line, and I'm going to take the over. So my total at 8.8, 915, 916 on the card. The Orioles are on the road against the Royals. The Wizard of Boz, Shane Boz, is on the bump for the Orioles, and Chris with the K. Bubich is on the bump for the Royals. Royals are a favorite here of anywhere between minus 125 to a minus 136, plus 110 to a plus 116 is that number on Baltimore. Total on this game is 9. The over is between minus 110 to a minus 115. Under is between minus 105 to a minus 110. Do like that under. I set my total at an 8.8. I am just a big believer in Chris with the K. Bubich. Last year, 255 ERA, like a 280s some odd fielding independent. He was giving up a half a home run, 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, and I recognize that thus far the ERA has been elevated a little bit from a season ago, but you look at the advanced numbers he should be doing for some positivity. 397 ERA, but a 331 fielding independent, 10.3 strikeouts, 1.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings. And Shane Baz, since the beginning of the 2025 season, 4.87 ERA, 1.3 home runs, 3.4 walks per 9 innings. He does get a little bit north of 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, and he benefits from facing a Royals team that out of 30 teams going into Monday ranked 30th in terms of run creation with 3.2 runs per game. And Bobby Witt Jr. continues to get on base, and he continues to be stranded as nobody can seem to drive him home. Carter Jensen, ever since the oversleep situation, has actually been halfway decent for the team. Right now, he is leading the way with 5 home runs, so he's been able to give you a little bit of something there. But Vinny Pasquantino, Salvador Perez, both entered in this series, hitting less than a 160, and between the two of them, a combined 5 home runs, so you're starting to get a little bit of power, but man, need a little bit more there. Miguel Garcia is moving the line with about a 325 on base, but the pickup that they had a few off seasons ago, Jonathan India, is clearly not paying off. Isaac Collins is hitting below the Mendoza line of 200. Jack Aguillon is starting to find it a little bit, but not really giving you any sort of power whatsoever. And then on the flip side for the Baltimore Orioles, you've got all sorts of injuries with this team, as Jackson Alday, Jordan Westburg, Adley Rushman are all on the injury list right now. Tyler O'Neill is right now dealing with like a concussion or something like that. And then Samuel Basayo is hitting below the Mendoza line of 200. He just has not been able to find it. Dylan Beavers having a rough start to the season. Jeremiah Jackson, like holy crud. This guy has been absolutely tremendous. As for Jackson, 5 home runs over the last 2 weeks. He's hitting like 300, but Kobe Mayo's letting you down. Pete Alonso has been a waste of money. And for the Orioles, the bullpen has actually been halfway decent. Junior Cano, don't know if he ever gets back to that peak form they had like 3 or 4 years ago, but he's been posting up a sub-2 ERA. Uncle Rico Garcia has been solid. Ryan Helsley has looked a little bit better. So I do like the under, so I told it at 8.8 with the Royals. Made them a minus 148 favorite on the money line. Recognize that their deal with Carlos Estevez currently being on the injury list, but Lucas Erceg, I still think is a solid closer. Been a little bit shaky to begin the season. Daniel Lynch, a nice long guy. They pick up Matt Strom, sub 350 ERA with the Phillies last year. So like the under and the Royals here on the money line. 917, 918 on the card. It's the Blue Jays on the road against the Angels. Jack Kachanowicz is on the bump for the Alos, and Patrick Corbin, the old turkey tosser, is on the bump for Toronto. 9.5 is a total. Under is minus 115 to a minus 120. The over is between even and minus 105. With the Blue Jays, they are minus 105 to even money. Between minus 110 to a minus 120 is that number on the Angels. I set the Blue Jays at a minus 103. So being able to get even money or better, I'm going to look at the Blue Jays on the money line. These are two guys that you really don't want to hitch your wagon to. For Patrick Corbin, he has provided an ERA of a 5.20 or higher in 4 of the last 5 years, and the only reason why he got down to a 4.40 last year is because he was amazing in Arlington and then boop-tastic on the road. So that's not great to say the least. He's made 2 starts thus far. He has given up in 9 2/3 innings, a pair of home runs. Walks are not necessarily an issue with him, but he doesn't get a lot of swing and miss. And then for Jack Kachanowicz, he looks a little bit more respectable this year, but that's not saying much considering he had a 6.81 ERA with 5.8 strikeouts and 4.7 walks per 9 innings last year. And while he hasn't given up the deep ball through 4 starts thus far this season, 6.9 strikeouts and 5.8 walks per 9 innings thus far this season. That's a little bit less than savory. Both bullpens are seemingly finding a little bit of improvement. Mason Flaherty has been miserable for the Toronto Blue Jays. Other than the postseason last year, Jeff Hoffman just has not been a good pickup here for the Toronto Blue Jays, but you've had Braden Fisher be able to supply sub-3 ERA, Louis Varland, Tyler Rogers. These guys are solid, and for the Blue Jays, they perhaps found a little bit on offense a few days ago with that big outburst in the first inning against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Do have Lager Jr. still stuck on 1 home run, but he's giving you over a 400 base. Kazuma Okamoto in that game on Sunday, he certainly started to find it a little bit. AC Sanchez, Andres Jimenez, both of these guys have been able to above a 250, but you're right now dealing with quite a few injuries with this team, as well as right now George Springer's on the injury list. Don't call the same. Alejandro Kirk is currently on the injury list, so that's a little bit of issue. On the flip side, you've got yourself a bunch in the Angels that has really done a better job in terms of reaching base this season. Mike Trout had that 4 home run series against the New York Yankees, just absolutely electric. Joe Adele setting fire to the rain. 3 home runs for him, 3 home runs robbed. He's hitting about a 280. You'll love to be able to see that. Zach Neto has been able to hit for 5 home runs, about a 370 on base. Ori Soler is not necessarily hitting for a great average, but 340 on base, 5 home runs. He's fresh off of suspension. And for the Angels, not saying it's an amazing bullpen, but you pick up Drew Pomerantz in the offseason. He was a guy that supplied a sub-3 ERA last season with the Cubs. Brent Suter has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Jay Silseth has found a home in that bullpen. Even with dealing with the injuries of Ben Joyce and company, I do think that they're a little bit improved. So this is a circumstance where elsewhere with the Blue Jays. Set them at a -103, even money or better, looking at that money line, and made a total of 9.3 at the 9.5. I'm surprisingly going to be in on the under. 919, 920. The Mariners are going to be playing against the Athletics as you've got Luis Castillo on the bump for the Mariners. Jacob Lopez is on the bump for the A's. The A's do find themselves as a pretty good size underdog here between plus 140 to plus 150. Meanwhile, between -170 to -190. Then around Seattle, 7.5 is a total. Under is -115 to -120. The over is between even a -105. Looking to lay a run half with the Seattle Mariners. That's anywhere between plus 122 to a plus 130. And we'll take plus 125 or better on that run line. For Luis Castillo, he had a career low 8.1 strikeouts per 9 innings last year, but also a career low 2.3 walks per 9 innings. And Seattle is one of the most notoriously pitcher-friendly ballparks in all of baseball, especially this time of year when it's nice and cool outside. And that's very much reflected in the fact that Luis Castillo last year was so much better at home rather than away from home. 260 home ERA. At home, he was giving up about 1.1 home runs per 9 innings. That went up a little bit away from home to a 471 ERA, so that's massive. And for Jacob Lopez, he actually had a 264 ERA at home last season and a 540 ERA away from home. He was like the lone pitcher for the Athletics that had a worse ERA when he was away from Sacramento, so that was interesting to say the least. He was a strikeout artist last year with 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's not necessarily the hardest tosser in the world, and we've seen that toilet bowl here through 4 starts, 7.9 strikeouts, 8.3 walks per 9 innings. And for the Seattle Mariners, it does feel like this offense is starting to get back online. Now, you still have Josh Naylor along Cal Raleigh, who have hit for 2 home runs or fewer, and both of these guys just have not moved the line, hitting below the Mendoza line of a 200. But how about what Luke Raley has been able to do? From out of nowhere, this guy has supplied 5 home runs, hitting above 300 going into the season. Randy Arozarena, only 2 home runs, but he's been able to give you darn near a 300 batting average and an on-base percentage right around about 400. You need a little bit more out of J.P. Crawford, but I think some of the ancillary pieces like Dom Canzone have been able to do a solid job finding a way on. And for the Athletics, you do have Brent Rooker currently on the injured list. Shea Langolaris has been carrying the team in terms of power, 6 home runs going into the series, hitting above a 300, and you're starting to get guys on base. Jeff McNeil, Jacob Wilson, both hitting above a 250 after rough starts of the season. They just get Zach Galoff off the injured list. So wrong Max Muncy has actually been able to be rock solid for the team, but can't say that I'm necessarily a believer in this bullpen. A lot of these guys, like Hogan Harris, Justin Cerner, Elvis Alvarado, all had an ERA of a 4 or higher last year. Jack Perkins is a long guy that I'm not necessarily a fan of. Mark Leiter Jr. is just absolutely washed. And for the Seattle Mariners, it's been a little bit shaky thus far this season for Andres Munoz, but he provided a sub-2 ERA last season when he and Matt Brash are rocking and rolling. That's one of the best 8th and 9th inning duos in all of baseball. You've got Gabe Spire along with Edward Bazardo that last year, both supplied a sub-3 ERA. So with the Mariners, plus 125 or better, looking at that run line, I do think that they get to Lopez. So semi-total 7.6 on the 7.5, like the over. 921, 922 on the card. The Brewers are on the road. They're facing off against the Tigers. Cadena Montero is on the bump for the Crew, and you've got Kyle Harrison, who's going to be on the bump for the Brewers. The Brewers do find themselves as a very slim underdog here. You're going to be getting them between even money, seeing as good as plus 106, as bad as minus 102. Meanwhile, minus 115 to a minus 122 is that number on the Detroit Tigers. 8 is the total. The over is minus 110 to a minus 120. Under is between even a minus 110. Seeing a few straight 8.5s out there. The 8.5 under has juice of minus 115, and the over is minus 105. Made my total at 80.2. So I am going to be in on the 8 to the over. I would rather have an 8 over rather than an 8.5 to the under. For Cadena Montero, he's actually looked much better here in the first few starts as opposed to the past few seasons, but I still need to see a little bit more before I can trust in him in this low of a total to the under, especially with the Tigers having that early game on Monday as well. So I do think that they're going to be behind the 8 ball a little bit there. For Montero this year, 3.31 ERA, and he's not giving up a home run in his 3 starts thus far this season, and in his 16 and a third innings, only 2 walks. Last year, 1.6 home runs, 3.1 walks allowed per 9 innings, but still do have to have a few question marks. That's a very small sample size. And for Kyle Harrison, he has looked pretty solid here with the Brewers, a 3.07 ERA, but a 4.08 fielding dependent. Strikeout stuff has always been good with him. The issue has always been command throughout his career, 3.1 walks per 9 innings, down to 2.5 walks per 9 innings this far this season, but also 1.2 home runs allowed per 9 innings. I also do think that there's a little bit of positivity here coming for the Tigers. Last year, they were 11th in the big leagues in terms of runs per game. This year, they've been more around about league average. They were able to get going a little bit more against the Red Sox yesterday, and right now, the main guys that are carrying this team, someone like Gleyber Torres has been able to give you 255 on base. Riley Green is starting to finally find it a little bit more, but he and Spencer Torkelson just have not provided power. 0 or 1 home runs apiece for Green, still giving you 372 on base, so that'll get the job done. You've been able to get a little bit of production as well out of Kerry Carpenter in terms of power, and his on-base base percentage is starting to pick it up. About a 343 on base. And for the Brewers, this has never been some sort of power hitting team or anything like that. But you've got William Contreras who can give you 20 plus home runs. And they have found power on the cheap. Jake Bauers along with Gary Sanchez have both given you 5 plus home runs apiece thus far this season. Garrett Mitchell is moving the line over a 400 on base. This is still one of the best base stealing teams in all baseball. 33 stolen bags in 21 games. Bryce Rang is giving you 6 stolen bases. He's hitting a 300. Sal Frelick has been off to a little bit of a rough start to the season. He should be able to pick it up. Brandon Lockridge has been able to move the line as well. And the Brewers, who had a really good bullpen last season, we've seen some of these guys struggle to begin the season here because you had so many guys like Abner Uribe, along with Grant Anderson, Aaron Ashby, so many guys that were playing a sub-3 ERA last year. And Anderson and Ashby have still been respectable, but Uribe has had some struggles here in the early part of the season. Trevor McGill has really had his struggles. And then for the Detroit Tigers, I do think that there's positivity coming for this bullpen. You've had likes of Will Vest, Brant Herter, and company be able to supply sub-350 ERA. They've had their issues as far this season. Kyle Finnegan has been really good since coming over from the Washington Nationals, so that's been able to help them out. But they've had to trot out there some likes of Emmanuel De Jesus along with Drew Anderson, so that's been a little bit of a problem. And when it comes to Kyle Harrison, I do think that he's going to be able to give the Brewers a little bit of a chance here. I need to see a little bit more from the bullpen before I'm willing to take a shot here. I did set my money line price at a plus 105 on the Brewers. Right now I'm seeing a plus 106, so I had to make the Brewers the slimmest of slim underdogs, but being able to get that plus money, I'm going to be in on the Brewers on the money line. And with this total, I'd rather have an 8 over rather than an 8.5 under. Did set my total at an 8.2. 923 and 924 on the card. It's the Reds. Yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're on the road against the Tampa Bay Rays. Relative pick'em game between the Rays and the Reds, as right now the Reds are between minus 104 to minus 110. The Rays are between minus 106 to minus 110. Steven Matz goes for the Rays. Chase Burns for the Reds, and total 7.5. Unders minus 115 to minus 120. Overs between even to minus 105, and I like the Rays here. I did set my money line price at a minus 127. Steven Matz, we were talking about it with our good friend Mid-Major Matt. He's a guy that I feel like you can trust in. He's going to go deep into games. He really doesn't allow a lot of walks. Last year, 305 ERA, 0.9 home runs, 1.3 walks allowed per 9 innings. He's seen an uptick with the ERA this season to a 380, but 336 fielding dependent, 0.8 home runs, 8.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. I like the way that he's trending there. And then for Chase Burns, he's been off to a nice start to the season thus far. He's right now supplying you with a 242 ERA, but still a fielding independent that is more in the neighborhood of a 411. Strikeout stuff was amazing last year. He was getting about 13 strikeouts per 9 innings, down to more like 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings this year. I think that he's going to be somewhere between 13 and 8.5, so probably more like 10 to 10.5, but he's giving up 1.2 home runs, 3.6 walks per 9 innings, and he's backed up by Cincinnati Reds lineup that is currently 27th in the big leagues in terms of run creation. I do think that this is going to tick northward because still have Ellie De Cruz. He's been able to give you 5 plus home runs, and he does a great job swiping bags, give you over 330 on base. Cousin Sal Stewart, how about him? 388 on base. He's been able to supply 8 home runs to begin the season, and Eugenio Suarez coming off of a 49 home run season last year. These guys are solid, but it's the bottom line. Brian Hayes, Tyler Stevenson, Reese Hines, who are just giving you a big giant nothing burger. TJ Friedel has been pretty miserable at the plate as well. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, entered in this series in the top 11 in terms of run creation. Jonathan Aranda has not even been what he was 8 seasons ago, as last year he was hitting well above 300, down to about a 225 to begin this season. But Chandler Simpson, one of the better base stealers in all of baseball, he's been able to hit well above a 300. Junior Caminero, 44 bombs last season. He's been able to give you a pair of home runs over the last 5 or so days. You've had Richie Palacios move line. Nick Fortes, the catcher spot was an issue for the Rays last few seasons. He's hitting above a 300, and the trepidation that you've got for the Rays. This bullpen entered in the series on the bottom 5 in terms of ERA. Edwin Uceta, Garrett Clevenger on the injury list, and Griffin Jackson's just terrible. Like Cole Sulzer, Brian Baker, the former Orioles, they've had their struggles this far this season. I do like Hunter Biggie, and for the Cincinnati Reds, they actually entered in the series number 1 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. I don't think that that's going to be a mainstay when Emilio Pagan is your closer, and he's just so untrustworthy that's not even funny. But Pierce Johnson, Brock and Roll Burke, they bring in both of those guys. Both had a sub 350 ERA with their respective stops last season. Tony Santiam, Graham Ashcraft, these guys have been solid. So I think that you're in for a lower scoring game. Semi total 7.4 on the 7.5, like the under, but trust in Matz here a little bit more. Willing to lay it with a raised money line, set them at a minus 127. 925, 926. The Twins are going to be on the road against the Mets. Noah McLean is on the bump for the Mets, and Simeon Woods Richardson is on the bump for Minnesota. Minnesota's a plus 144 to a plus 154 underdog. Minus 163 to minus 190 is the number on the Mets. 7.5 is the total, over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. Set my money line price at a plus 153. I just can't bring myself to bet on the Mets. I'm going to take the Twins here on the money line. I actually like Noah McLean for everything that has went so so horribly wrong here for the New York Mets here in the last few weeks. He's been one of the few guys that's actually been halfway decent. Thus far this season, 2.28 ERA, fielding dependent of 2.45. He's given up a half home run per 9 innings, 10.5 strikeouts per 9, but everyone around him is just going to upchuck this game for him. So that's just not great, to say the least. Luke Weaver has been terrible in this bullpen. I like Oscar Brisbane, Brooks Raley. These are relatively good relievers, but it's gotten to the point where they've got Sean Manaea as their long guy. I mean, Devin Williams just looks completely washed at this point, and without Juan Soto in the lineup, this team has been miserable at the plate. Right now, 3.27 runs per game. Only the Kansas City Royals entered into Monday scoring fewer runs per game, and they're tied with them for the worst record in the big leagues. Bo Bichette has not lived up to his money thus far. Marcus Semien wasn't even good with the Texas Rangers. I don't know what they were expecting there. Ori Polanco joins Juan Soto on the injured list. Carson Benjay probably should not be seeing at bats right now. Actually, like what I've seen out of NJ Melendez, the guy that I thought was in for some positivity. And Francisco Alvarez, 4 home runs. He and Luis Torrens have been able to move the line a little bit, but for the Minnesota Twins, even though it's a ragtag bunch in the lineup right now, you're dealing with Royce Lewis being out with an injury. Cody Clemens, Matt Wallner, they don't get on base, but both of these guys had 20-plus home runs last season. Ryan Jeffers has actually done a really good job in terms of finding a way on base. He's been able to give you over 350 on base. I don't know how much of a mainstay that's going to be, but Byron Buxton was off to a very rough start to the season. He's been able to pick it up a little bit more. He's back up to 3 bombs, giving you a 300-plus on base. Josh Bell has found a way to move the line. He had a nice second half of the season with the Washington Nationals last year. Trevor Larnach has been in and out of the lineup, but when he's been in, he's been able to find a way on as well. For the Twins, it's not necessarily like you got an amazing bullpen. Now you're dealing with Cody Funderburk, deal with a little bit of an injury, but I like the fact that they picked up Taylor Rogers in the offseason. He's been able to give you a sub-4 ERA now. When it comes to these guys like Cole Sands, Cody Lawyerson, who's been dealing with injury as well, Justin Topa, they're posting up ERAs above a 4. Eric Orsay has been a little bit shaky as well, but I actually like that pickup from the Tampa Bay Rays. And for Simeon Woods Richardson, he's about as generic as it gets as a pitcher. Last season, he was posting up a ERA that was a hair above a 4 with 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, 3.7 walks per 9, 452 fielding dependent, 6.10 ERA with a 560 fielding dependent. I think he gets back to where he was last season. Last 2 years between a 4.04 to a 4.17 ERA. I don't think that he's amazing. I don't think that he's terrible, but he has to go up against a Mets team that's also a bruised and battered and just lost at the plate. So somebody total at 7.4. I like the under, and at a plus 154 or better, we'll take a shot here on the Twins on the money line. 927, 928 on the card. It's the Pirates. They're going to be on the road against the Walker Texas Rangers. We know that Carmen Molzinski is going to be on the bump for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and right now for the Rangers, it's all to be determined. This is going to be off the board. Right now, it's looking like Kumar Rocker is going to be getting the start here, and if you do get Kumar Rocker, I set the Pirates as a favorite. I set them at a minus 108, so we'll be willing to go up to a minus 107 there, plus 109 or better, looking at the Rangers, and then set a total of an 8.6, 8.5 or less, looking at the over a 9 or higher to the under. If the Rangers change their pitchers, unless it's Jacob Latz, probably wouldn't be moving too much off of this. If you do get Jacob Latz, that's actually a pretty good upgrade in my opinion. I would flip this to the Rangers being a slight favorite. Additionally, this is a really good Rangers bullpen. Last year, they were 5th in the league in terms of bullpen ERA. They have started off this year being 3rd in the league in terms of bullpen ERA. Cole Winn actually had a sub-2 ERA last season in that bullpen. You knew that that was not going to necessarily be a mainstay, but they bring in Jacob Junis, who had a sub-3 ERA last season with the Cleveland Guardians. You've been able to have Chris Martin be relatively solid. I know that he's a little bit banged up, but overall, it's a Texas Rangers team that they do a nice job supporting him. Jalen Beeks, he may not necessarily be the world's most trustworthy reliever, but he's able to be like an innings eater for the team as well. And then with the Rangers, what's just the main bugaboo for the team? They have not been able to hit at home. The Rangers ballpark has one of the biggest ballpark factors in terms of suppressing offense in all of baseball, so they've had a few issues there. Do have Jake Berger along Corey Seager, who have supplied 5 home runs apiece. Seager hitting just a 200, but he's been able to give you 326 on base, and then Jake Berger, he's not giving you any sort of on base whatsoever at a 280, but 250 average. Brandon Nimmo's been a really nice pickup for them. They are winning that Marcus Semien trade. He's been hitting above a 300 for them, but the guys at the bottom of the lineup, like Josh Smith, along with Jock Peterson, who's been a little bit better here recently, they just haven't been able to give you a whole lot. Wyatt Langford has been pretty awful this far this season, but did have a nice series last over the weekend, so that helps them out a little bit. And then on the other side of things, for the Pirates, they were dead sinking last in terms of run creation last year, but boy, have they found it thus far this season. Oneil Cruz has been able to hit darn near 300. He's been able to wall up the ball. I really like the Ryan O'Hearn pickup in the offseason. 20-plus home runs, over a 350 on base last season, and he's been able to continue that and then some for the Pirates. You've got Brandon Lau, who's been able to give you 7 home runs. He's playing right now 375 on base. Brian Reynolds has been much better this year, so these guys have all been able to step up. And for the Pirates, while I don't necessarily trust Gregory Soto as a closer for the team, the other guys in the bullpen have been pretty solid. Isaac Madsen has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA just like he did a season ago. Yohan Ramirez looks much improved this season. Dennis Santana, he's posted up a sub-225 ERA each of the last 2 seasons, and if you do get Kumar Rocker, he's a guy that I just can't really get with because he's never lived up to what he was when he was over at Vanderbilt. Last year, he was posting up an ERA of a 5.74 with about a 4.88 fielding dependent, 1.5 home runs, 3.2 walks per 9 innings. Strikeout stuff has been a little bit up this year with 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's still giving out over 4 walks per 9 innings. He's still giving up the deep ball, 4.30 ERA, 4.63 fielding dependent. And for Carmen Molodzinski, he last season was very good out of the bullpen, not so good as a starter. He's really put it all together thus far. In his 4 total appearances, 177 ERA, 249 fielding dependent. It's not given up a home run. He's been consistent, giving you about 8.5 to 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. If you do get Rocker against Molzinski, I set the Pirates to where I'd be willing to lay up to -107 with them, plus 109 or better. Looking at the Rangers, and then set 12.6, 8.5 for less, like the over 9 or the under. Wrap things up with 929, 930. The Diamondbacks playoffs to the White Sox. Sean Burke goes for the Self-Siders, and Merrill Kelly is on the bump for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks do find themselves as a nice size favorite here of between -142 to a -155, and between +120 to +132. That number on Chicago, and total on this game is 9 to 9.5. On the 9, the over is -120 to -130. Under is even to +110 on the 9.5. Under is -120, and the over is even. We have seen some stark moves here. Like, there was one book that opened up the Diamondbacks like at a -190 or so favorite, and I totally agreed with it. Like, I thought the Diamondbacks here at a -199. I was willing to take pretty much any sort of plus money on the run line. Right now, you're finding that +135 to +140. I am in there. Now, for the Arizona Diamondbacks, they haven't been as explosive on offense to begin this season as they were a season ago when they were 4th in the big leagues in terms of runs per game, but do have to have the feeling that Geraldo Perdomo, who's been a little bit cold to begin the season, he's going to be able to pick it up. You've had Corbin Carroll be very rock solid to begin the season, not necessarily supplying a lot of home runs, but he's hitting a 300 with a 390 on base. Nolan Arenado, it looks like he's pretty washed at this point, and for Ketel Marte, he's not really giving you the on base that he has in the past, but 4 home runs, you know that he's going to find it, and I mean, not having Carlos Santana in there has helped out Ilyarmo Vargas get at bats. He's hitting at 370. You've had Jose Fernandez step up in the infield as well. For the Diamondbacks, this is not the most trustworthy bullpen in the big leagues. Last year, they were in the bottom 10 in terms of ERA. Paul Sewald has been okay thus far. I think that the bottom's going to fall out on him sooner rather than later, but Andrew Hoffman, Ryan Thompson, these guys are pretty presentable. They pick up Taylor Clark in the offseason, and he's been doing a good job in this bullpen. Kevin Ginkel has been not good, to say the least, but it's a lot better than the White Sox, who trot out there Sir Anthony Dominguez as their closer, and that's not a place where you want to be. Jordan Leisure, while you Leisure League, gives you an ERA that's well above a 4 every single year. Sean Newcomb, he's not necessarily the best long guy for this team. Grant Taylor's been solid as an opener, but man, I mean, like, all in all, this is a bullpen that is rough. And for the White Sox, they're a bottom 6 team right now in terms of run creation. You just don't have anyone that's hitting for average right now. Like, you've got 2 guys on the roster, they're hitting above a 250. Derek Hill and Everson Pierre. Pierre's been able to give you 3 home runs, and he's been rock solid. And Miyutaka Murakami, he does have 8 home runs this far this season. He's also hitting for a 2.8, albeit 376 on base percentage, so he's been able to give you a little bit more there. But Colson Montgomery, Andrew Benintendi, Miguel Vargas, these are all guys that you were relying upon coming into the season. They've all hit a 200 or lower. I'll give Colson Montgomery credit, 5 home runs, but Benintendi just 1. Edgar Quiero, he has been a shell of what he was a season ago. And for Merrill Kelly, last season when he was with the Arizona Diamondbacks, he was really rocking and rolling. He was posting up about a 3.22 ERA with 1 home run allowed per 9 innings. When he got traded to Texas, that's when the bottom really fell out. He was giving up 1.5 home runs per 9 innings, posting up more like a 4.23 ERA. And for Sean Burke, last year, 4.22 ERA, 4.92 fielding dependent, though, giving up 1.5 home runs, 4.2 walks per 9. And this year, 4.43 ERA, but he's down to a career 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's worked on the walks, but he's getting a few less whiffs. I do think that the Diamondbacks still going to have a few struggles with regards to the bat, but I think that Merrill Kelly goes out there, gives you a good start. I'm willing to take the Diamondbacks on the run line, was willing to take +105 or better. I do like the under, sub I total at 8.7, and that'll wrap things up for the Tuesday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to Matt Josephs, aka Mid-Major Matt, for joining me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever you your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, Lars EM, name does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Coming at you guys every single day with picks and analysis on every single game, every single day. So I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.